Tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Honored Dead. Jackson Jax Connors, 42, former Army Ranger with distinguished service in Fallujah and 3 other combat zones, stands at military attention among a small crowd at Arlington National Cemetery. It's the 10-year anniversary of the ambush that killed half his squad. His weathered face reveals little emotion, but his eyes scan the gathering with a hypervigilance that never left him after 4 tours. His son, Devin, 16, stands beside him, tall for his age and uncomfortable in his suit. The boy photographs the ceremony with the expensive camera Jax bought for his birthday, photography being one of the few interests they genuinely share. Devin captures candid moments of grief and remembrance, his artistic eye already evident. "You know any of these guys, Dad?" Devin whispers, nodding toward a group of men in crisp suits who stand apart from the families. Jax recognizes defense contractor types, vultures in expensive suits. "Different kind of soldier," he mutters. Among them stands Cole Donovan, 45, with a politician's smile and predator's eyes. Something about him triggers Jax's instincts, a vague recognition he can't place. When their eyes meet briefly, Cole looks away too quickly. The ceremony concludes, and attendees disperse. Brianna Connors, 38, Jax's wife of 18 years, materializes from the crowd. Once an Army nurse who treated Jax after his second tour, she's transformed herself into a polished pharmaceutical sales representative. Her expression softens when she sees Devin, but tightens upon meeting Jax's gaze. "I'm sorry I missed most of it," she says, squeezing Devin's shoulder. Quarterly sales meeting ran long. "It's fine," Jax says flatly, having long stopped expecting her at these events. Later, at their suburban Maryland home, Jax retreats to his home office, a Spartan room in its organization. Maps of Fallujah cover one wall alongside framed medals he never talks about. His security consulting business, Sentinel Solutions, provides comfortable income working with high-risk clients overseas, though it requires frequent travel. Through the wall, he hears Brianna on the phone, her voice animated in a way it never is with him anymore. When she laughs, a sound he hasn't elicited in years, Jax feels the gulf between them widen further. Devin enters without knocking, a boundary violation Jax allows only from his son. "Found something weird," Devin says, connecting his camera to Jax's computer. He pulls up photos from the ceremony, zooming in on Cole Donovan, speaking intensely with another man. "This guy was watching you the whole time." Jax studies the image, military instinct stirring. The timestamp shows it was taken before Brianna arrived, yet in the blurry background of the photo, he spots his wife, clearly speaking with Cole before she approached them. "Dad? What is it?" Jax closes the window. "Nothing. Just ghosts from the past." That night, Jax accesses Sentinel's database, searching for Cole Donovan. The results chill him. Donovan Defense Technologies, specializing in military equipment. The same contractor whose faulty communications devices failed during the ambush 10 years ago. The congressional investigation cleared them on technicalities, despite Jax's testimony. 4 Rangers died because they couldn't call for backup. Jax discovers recent news. Donovan is now running for Senate with the backing of incumbent Senator Wilson Baldwin, a powerful Defense Committee chairman who had personally quashed further investigation into Donovan's company. A text from Devin interrupts his research. "Mom's going to conference in Boston this weekend. Think we can go camping instead of me staying with the Millers?" Jax stares at his phone. Brianna has attended 3 conferences in the past 2 months alone. Chapter 2. The Fall. Friday morning, Brianna leaves for her conference with a kiss on Devin's forehead and a cold goodbye to Jax. Her designer luggage seems excessive for a pharmaceutical sales meeting. Instead of the planned camping trip, Jax receives an emergency call from a high-profile client in Dubai. The timing is suspicious, but the money is too good to refuse. "I'll be back Sunday night," Jax promises Devin. "Miranda Miller will check on you Saturday." Devin shrugs, returning to his video game. "Whatever. Not the first time." In Dubai, Jax's client never shows. After waiting 12 hours, Jax contacts his office manager, who confirms the client denies making the appointment. The elaborate ruse raises all of Jax's combat alarms. He books the first flight home, landing Saturday evening instead of Sunday. Calling a rideshare from the airport, Jax tries Devin's phone repeatedly with no answer. The house is dark when he arrives, no sign of Devin or his camera gear. Inside, subtle wrongness pervades their home. Cushions at incorrect angles, a half-empty bottle of expensive scotch Jax never drinks, a lingering cologne that isn't his. In Devin's room, his bed is made, but his backpack and camera missing. Jax accesses their home security system, finding it had been disabled for 4 hours that afternoon. When he restores the previous footage, he sees Brianna's car in the driveway at 2 p.m. She never went to Boston. At 3:17 a.m., Jax's phone rings with an unfamiliar number. Mr. Connors? This is Mercy Hospital Emergency Department. Your son Devin has been admitted after a fall. The world narrows to tunnel vision as Jax drives. Combat breathing keeps him functional. 4 count in, 4 count hold, 4 count out. A technique from Ranger training. The hospital is chaos at this hour. A young resident physician, Dr. Nadia Patel, meets him, her expression grave. Devin fell from your second-floor balcony. Multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and a severe concussion. He's stabilized but critical. We're prepping him for surgery. This wasn't a fall, Jax says with absolute certainty. Dr. Patel hesitates. There are certain inconsistencies with a simple fall. Detective Luis Ortega is waiting to speak with you. Ortega, a veteran himself judging by his bearing, leads Jax to a small consultation room. Your wife reported the accident, Ortega begins, watching Jax carefully. She claims your son was taking night photographs and leaned too far over the railing. Where is she now? She stepped out to make calls. Mr. Connors, the trauma surgeon, noted injuries possibly inconsistent with Brianna's explanation. Before Ortega can continue, a nurse interrupts. Detective, the patient is conscious and asking for his father. In the ICU, Devin's broken body is almost unrecognizable beneath bandages and tubes. His eyes flutter open when Jax takes his hand. Dad, Devin's voice is barely audible. Came home early. Wanted to surprise you. Save your strength, son. No, you needn't know. Devin's fingers tighten. Mom was there with a man. The one from Arlington. Ice fills Jax's veins. Cole, Donovan, they were in your bed. Tears leak from Devin's eyes. I took pictures, evidence. When he saw me, he went crazy. Call me a little spy. Mom just watched when he dragged me to the balcony. He said you were just a runaway soldier who wouldn't be missed. Devin's monitors begin alarming as his blood pressure drops. My camera, backpack. They took it. Devin's voice fades. Dad, he pushed me. And they laughed. Medical staff rush in as Devin loses consciousness. Dr. Patel shouts orders while nurses push Jax outside where Detective Ortega waits. My wife and Cole Donovan did this. Jax states with deadly calm. They tried to kill my son. That's a serious accusation. Check her phone records. Check traffic cameras. They planned this. Lure me out of town, then tried to eliminate a witness. Sir, I understand you're upset. I was a ranger detective. My son just told me who attacked him before losing consciousness. I know when someone's lying, and I know when someone's dying. Find Brianna Connors and Cole Donovan before I do. Ortega studies him. Don't make threats you'll regret, Connors. It's not a threat. It's a professional courtesy. As Ortega leaves, Jax notices an abandoned tablet at the nurse's station. Acting on instinct, he quickly accesses it, finding Devin's admission photos. The injuries confirm his worst fears: defensive wounds on his arms, bruising patterns consistent with being forcibly held before falling. Using the hospital's public Wi-Fi, Jax remotely accesses his home security system from his phone, discovering the outdoor cameras were still functional. He downloads footage showing Brianna and Cole hurriedly leaving the house at 1:27 a.m., Cole carrying Devin's backpack. They look back at the balcony, and Cole clearly says something that makes Brianna laugh before they drive away in separate vehicles. Jax sends the footage to his encrypted email, then erases his digital footprints from the tablet. Something cold and precise awakens inside him. What his unit called the switch. The part of him that could calculate kill shots while watching friends die, that could make battlefield decisions without emotion clouding judgment. The switch has flipped, and Ranger Jax Connors has just entered the hunt. Chapter 3: Awakening the Hunter. Dr. Patel emerges from surgery at dawn, exhaustion evident in her slumped shoulders. He's stable for now. The next 48 hours are critical. Spinal injury, skull fracture, ruptured spleen. She hesitates. Mr. Connors, I've treated fall victims before. Some of Devin's injuries are inconsistent with his mother's story. My wife tried to have my son killed, Jax says quietly. What aren't you telling me? Toxicology found sedatives in his system. Not recreational, pharmaceutical grade. The kind that a pharmaceutical sales rep would have access to. Jax finishes. Dr. Patel nods uncomfortably. Detective Ortega has been informed. Ortega returns mid-morning, his expression grim. We can't locate your wife or Cole Donovan. Her phone's been turned off, and there's no activity on either of their credit cards since 2 a.m. They're running. We've issued an alert, but without Devin's statement on record. Ortega spreads his hands helplessly. The video shows them leaving, but not the actual incident. They took his camera, the evidence. We'll keep looking. Meanwhile, I've arranged for a protection detail for Devin. Ortega lowers his voice. Off the record, Donovan has powerful friends. Senator Baldwin already called the captain asking why we're harassing a respected businessman based on a domestic dispute. Jax's expression doesn't change, but something deadly slides behind his eyes. Understood. After Ortega leaves, Jax makes a call to the one person who might understand what he needs. Former Sergeant Major Leroy Washington answers on the second ring. Do you know what time it is, Connors? They tried to kill my boy, Washington. A long pause. Who's that? Brianna. And Cole Donovan. Shit. Washington knows the history, having lost men in the same ambush. You sure? Devin told me before they took him back to surgery. I have footage of them fleeing the scene. What do you need? Everything. They've run. Took Devin's camera with evidence. And apparently Senator Baldwin is already running interference. Washington's voice hardens. I'll be there in 3 hours. Don't do anything until I arrive. Can't promise that. Jax, brother, you go off half-cocked, you'll end up in prison or dead. Neither helps your son. The logic penetrates Jax's rage. 3 hours. Jax uses the time to access their financial accounts, discovering Brianna has systematically drained their savings over 6 months, transferring funds to offshore accounts. Their home equity line has been maxed out. Only his military pension and business accounts, which she couldn't access, remain untouched. When Washington arrives, the imposing former sergeant major brings a duffel bag and a grim expression. In Devin's private room, Washington places signal jammers around the room before opening the bag to reveal laptop computers, burner phones, and surveillance equipment. Before we start, Washington says, you need to decide what this is, revenge or justice. Both. Jax answers without hesitation. They're going to pay for what they did to Devin, and they're going to face consequences for what Donovan did to our unit. Washington nods. Then we do this right. Smart. We build the case while we hunt them. 2 tracks, legal and necessary. They establish a command center in a cheap motel room near the hospital. Washington reveals he now works for a private intelligence firm with access to resources beyond typical civilian reach. Donovan's been under our radar for years, Washington explains, pinning documents to the wall. After the congressional hearing, he rebranded, diversified. He's planning a Senate run with Baldwin's backing. Why target me now? It's been 10 years. Washington pulls up more documents. Your name came up in a federal investigation 3 months ago. They're reopening the case against Donovan's company based on new evidence about the equipment failure. You were scheduled to be re-interviewed next month. The pieces align in Jax's mind. So they needed to discredit or eliminate me before that happened. Started with seducing my wife to get information, access to my home. And when your son caught them, he became collateral damage. Jax's phone buzzes with a text from Dr. Patel, Devin conscious, asking for you. At the hospital, Devin's condition has improved enough for him to speak clearly despite the pain. "Dad, I remembered something." Devin's voice is weak. "I had an SD card in my shoe. Backup habit you taught me." Jax checks the personal effects bag, finding Devin's shoes. Inside one, tucked into the insole, is a tiny SD card. "Smart boy," Jax whispers, clutching the card like a lifeline. "Did I get them?" "The photos. We'll find out. Rest now." Back at the motel, Washington reviews the SD card contents. Dozens of photos show Brianna and Cole in compromising positions in Jax's bed. More disturbingly, later images captured through a doorway show them arguing, with several clear shots of Cole grabbing Devin, his face contorted with rage, while Brianna looks on with alarm but doesn't intervene. The final images, taken in rapid succession, show Cole dragging Devin toward the balcony, Brianna following with a panicked expression, then Cole's hands on Devin's chest in a pushing motion. The sequence ends abruptly. "This is enough to charge them," Washington says. "Not with Baldwin running interference. We need more." Jax studies the map they've created on the wall, connecting Donovan, Baldwin, and the federal investigation. "We need everything. Where they've gone, the money trail, and whatever they're hiding about the original equipment failure." Washington's phone chirps. He reads the message and looks up grimly. Facial recognition got a hit. They crossed into Mexico at Tijuana 3 hours ago. Different vehicles, but within minutes of each other. Jax stares at the map, military planning mode engaged. "So we have a direction. What's the mission parameters, Ranger?" Washington asks, their old military shorthand returning naturally. "Recover evidence. Secure justice for Devin and our men. Make them regret the day they ever heard the name Connors." "Roger that." We move at dawn. As Washington begins preparations, Jax takes one last look at the hospital surveillance photo of Brianna and Cole hurrying to their cars, then opens his closet. From a hidden compartment, he retrieves a locked case containing items he swore he'd never need in civilian life. Specialized tactical gear from his Ranger days. One by one, he lays the items on the bed. Not weapons, but the tools of a man who knows how to move unseen, gather intelligence, and if necessary, become the predator rather than the prey. The switch is fully flipped now. Ranger Connors has a mission, and failure is not an option. Chapter 4, Predator's Path. 3 days later, in a luxury resort in Puerto Vallarta, Brianna Connors lounges by a private infinity pool overlooking the Pacific. Her newly dyed blonde hair and designer sunglasses create an effective disguise for security cameras. She sips a cocktail while reviewing banking apps on her tablet. Cole Donovan emerges from their villa, his politician smile replaced by a nervous scowl. "Any word from your contact at the hospital?" "Nothing new. Devin's condition is stable." She doesn't meet his eyes. They haven't filed charges yet. Baldwin's keeping the pressure on. Without the camera, they have nothing. "Except my son's testimony," Brianna says quietly. "If he wakes up," Cole's face hardens. "You knew the risks when you got involved. Too late for a conscience now." Inside their villa, neither notices the housekeeping staff member who meticulously cleans their bathroom. The man, Jax in disguise, carefully collects hair samples, fingerprints, and photographs documents left carelessly on the desk. His years of covert operations training make him invisible in plain sight. Later, in a modest hotel in town, Jax and Washington review their intelligence. Using his contacts, Washington has established a base of operations with secure communications to Detective Ortega back in Maryland. They've booked the villa for 2 weeks, Washington reports, using a shell company connected to Baldwin's former chief of staff. Jax examines credit card statements Washington's contacts obtained. She's been planning this for months. "Look at these withdrawals. Always just under reporting thresholds. Classic embezzlement pattern," Washington agrees. But there's something bigger. Donovan made 3 calls to Baldwin yesterday from a burner phone. Our source says they're moving up the timeline for something called Mercury Protocol. What's Mercury Protocol? Unknown. But Baldwin chairs the Armed Services Subcommittee on Emerging Threats. Whatever it is, it's significant enough that they risked meeting in person last month. Jax pins a new document to their intelligence wall, A photograph showing Baldwin and Donovan in what appears to be a private airfield hangar, exchanging briefcases. We need to know what's in those briefcases, Jax says. Working on it. Meanwhile, we've got a team tracking their financial movements. They've transferred funds through 3 different offshore accounts. Jax's burner phone rings. Dr. Patel. Mr. Connors, Devin is asking for you. His condition has improved, but he's agitated. Put him on. Devin's voice is stronger than before. Dad, where are you? Taking care of business, son. How are you feeling? Better. Dad. Devin's voice drops. There's a nurse here I don't recognize. She asked a lot of questions about you. Jax's blood runs cold. What kind of questions? Where you were? If you'd mention Mom. Then she checked my phone when she thought I was sleeping. Can you describe her? Red hair, star tattoo on her wrist. Badge sizzle. Morris, but I heard another nurse call her Tanya. Jax signals to Washington, who immediately begins typing on his laptop. Devin, listen carefully. Don't eat or drink anything not open in front of you. Don't let anyone adjust your medication unless Dr. Patel is present. You think they're still trying to hurt me? The naked fear in his son's voice sharpens Jax's resolve. I won't let that happen. I promise. After ending the call, Jax turns to Washington. They're making another attempt on Devin. Washington's fingers fly across the keyboard. Noel, Morris or Tanya on hospital staff. Sending Ortega her description now. Jax paces the room, combat instincts humming. Change of plans. You stay on Brianna and Cole. I'm going back. That's exactly what they want. To draw you out. I'm not leaving my son vulnerable. Washington stares at him. You go back. You blow our whole operation. Ortega can protect Devin. Like the police protected my unit with their investigation 10 years ago. Jax's voice drops to a dangerous register. I'm not asking permission, Washington. Washington recognizes the tone. Jax has made his decision. At least wait until morning. I've got something that might help us turn this around. That night, they execute a precise, covert entry into Cole and Brianna's villa. While the couple dines at the resort restaurant, Jax plants miniature surveillance devices in their bedroom, bathroom, and living area. Washington clones their phones and downloads the contents of Cole's laptop. Back at their base, they hit paydirt. Holy shit. Washington breathes, scrolling through emails. Mercury Protocol isn't a defense project. It's a blackmail operation. Donovan's been collecting dirt on high-ranking military officials for Baldwin. Jax studies the information, including General Westfield, who's leading the reopened investigation. It gets worse. Washington continues. Donovan Defense is bidding on a $300 million contract for next-gen combat communication systems. The same type that failed our unit, but improved. Baldwin's committee approves the final selection. So they rig the bid, make millions, and nobody looks too closely at their past failures. Exactly. And they need you discredited or gone before the congressional testimony next month. Jax's phone buzzes with a text from Ortega. Caught fake nurse. Fentanyl in syringe. Refusing to talk, but had $10,000 cash. Professional hit. Rage threatens to overwhelm Jax's control. He closes his eyes, employing combat breathing techniques. We need to move faster, he finally says. They won't stop coming after Devin. Washington nods. I've got something. Brianna accessed their American account this morning. They're flying to the Caymans tomorrow, private charter. Jax studies the villa surveillance feed, watching Brianna pack expensive clothing while Cole works on his laptop. They move around each other with the awkward formality of business partners, not lovers. Look at them, Jax observes. She's realizing she's in over her head. An alert pings on Washington's laptop. Facial recognition software analyzing the couple's interactions. Micro-expressions indicate high stress, particularly when he touches her. Your wife's having second thoughts. She watched him try to kill our son. Second thoughts doesn't cut it. Maybe not, but it gives us leverage. People under stress make mistakes. On screen, Brianna steps onto the balcony alone, staring at the ocean. She removes a photo from her pocket. Jax recognizes it as Devin's school portrait, and her shoulders shake with what appears to be silent sobs. I can use that, Jax says coldly. She wants absolution. She can earn it. Washington shifts uncomfortably. What are you thinking? We turn her. Break their alliance. She gives us everything on Donovan and Baldwin, testifies about Devon's accident, in exchange for reduced charges. You let her cut a deal? After what she did? Jax's expression remains impassive. I didn't say I'd honor the deal. Washington studies his former squad leader with concern. Jax, man, we need to be careful here. This isn't a combat zone. It became a combat zone the moment they went after my son. Jax replies, his focus unwavering as he watches Brianna through the surveillance feed. And they're about to learn why you don't attack a Ranger's family. Chapter 5, Counterstrike. Dawn breaks over Puerto Vallarta as Jax observes the resort's private airstrip where a sleek Gulfstream jet awaits. Through high-powered binoculars, he watches Cole directing staff loading luggage while Brianna waits in the terminal, visibly tense. Romeo 1 in position. Washington's voice comes through Jax's earpiece. Target Bravo entering terminal now. Romeo 2, copy. Jax responds, using their old military call signs. Execute Phase 1. Inside the terminal, Washington, dressed as a maintenance worker, accidentally bumps into Brianna, spilling coffee on her blouse. I'm so sorry, ma'am. He apologizes profusely, helping clean the mess while slipping a burner phone into her handbag. Please, let me pay for cleaning. Brianna waves him off impatiently, checking her watch as Cole enters. What happened to you? Cole asks, eyeing her stained clothing. Nothing. Clumsy staff. She heads to the restroom. While Brianna changes, the burner phone in her bag vibrates. Curious, she checks it, finding a text message. I know what you did to Devon. I know about Mercury Protocol. Want a way out? Call this number in the next 5 minutes. After that, Interpol gets everything. Jax. Attached is a photo of her and Cole taken in their villa the previous night. Proof they're being watched. Brianna's hands shake as she glances toward the door. After a moment's hesitation, she calls the number. Smart choice, Jax answers. How did you find us? I was trained to hunt terrorists in unfamiliar territory. Did you really think you could hide? She lowers her voice. Jax, it's not what you think. This got out of control. Save it. Here's what happens next. You're going to help me take down Donovan and Baldwin, or you'll spend the rest of your life in prison for attempted murder. I never wanted Devon hurt, she whispers. You have to believe. Belief is for church, Brianna. I need evidence. The flight to Grand Cayman. What's the real purpose? She hesitates. Offshore account access. There's a meeting with Baldwin's banker tomorrow. Here's your one chance at redemption. Give me access to those accounts and all documentation on Mercury Protocol. Cole watches everything I do. He doesn't trust me anymore. Not my problem. You help create this situation. You'll help end it. A knock on a bathroom door makes Brianna jump. Bree, we're cleared for takeoff, Cole calls. Figure it out, Jax says coldly. I'll contact you in Grand Cayman. If you attempt to warn Cole, Detective Ortega receives evidence of your direct involvement in Devon's assault. And then I find you. The line goes dead. Brianna stares at her reflection, the gravity of her situation sinking in. She flushes the toilet for effect, washes her hands, and emerges with a practiced smile. Ready, she tells Cole, the burner phone hidden in her jacket pocket. As the Gulfstream takes off, Jax and Washington return to their base to prepare for the next phase. They've already booked commercial flights to Grand Cayman, leaving that afternoon. You think she'll cooperate? Washington asks. She's running scared. Cole's becoming unstable, and she's realizing there's no happy ending with him. Jax reviews the intelligence wall they've constructed, but we don't rely on her. Plan B is already in motion. Plan B involves a former Army intelligence officer who now works for the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. She's provided access codes to monitor the Cayman accounts remotely, though they can't access funds without physical presence and biometric verification. Washington's laptop pings with an encrypted message from Detective Ortega. Another attempt on Devon. Hospital security intercepted a visitor with fake ID claiming to be child services. Matches description of known associate of Baldwin's former security chief. Jax's jaw tightens. They're getting desperate. Good. Desperate people make mistakes. After landing in Grand Cayman, They establish surveillance on the exclusive oceanfront property where Cole and Brianna are staying. Unlike the resort in Mexico, this is a private villa with heightened security, clearly their intended safe house if things went wrong. That evening, the burner phone registers connection to the villa's Wi-Fi. Shortly after, encrypted files begin transferring to their secure server. Brianna has made her choice. The files reveal the full scope of Mercury Protocol, a sophisticated blackmail operation targeting not just military officials but Defense Department procurement officers. Donovan's company had been systematically installing backdoors in communication equipment, collecting sensitive information for Baldwin to use as leverage. Most damning are recorded conversations between Baldwin and Cole discussing the faulty equipment that got Jax's men killed. "We knew there were problems with the signal encryption," Baldwin says on one recording, "but rushing it through testing was necessary to meet quarterly projections." "Acceptable losses," Cole replies callously. "Besides, it was just a Ranger unit. Not like we lost anyone irreplaceable." Washington's face darkens with fury as he listens. "Acceptable losses? Those were our brothers. Now we have them," Jack says, his voice deadly calm. "This is enough to destroy them both." The burner phone buzzes with a text from Brianna. Baldwin arriving tomorrow 9 a.m. Meeting at first came in trust. Cole keeps physical drive with all Mercury files. In room safe. Code 3825. Jax sends a simple reply. "Be ready." That night, a private security detail arrives at the villa for men with military bearing and concealed weapons. Cole's paranoia is escalating. "Change of plans," Jax tells Washington. "We can't wait." Baldwin's presence changes everything. Direct approach? No. We use Brianna as our Trojan horse. He texts her detailed instructions. Her reply comes quickly. "If I do this, what happens to me?" Jack stares at the message for a long moment before typing. "You testify against them, cooperate fully, and I'll tell Devin you tried to stop Cole. That's the best I can offer." 3 dots appear as she types, disappears, then reappears. "I'll do it." At 2 a.m., Brianna follows Jax's instructions, disabling a section of the villa's security system and leaving a bedroom window unlocked. When the guard rotation changes at 2:15, Jax has a 4-minute window to infiltrate the property. Moving with the silent efficiency that made him legendary in his unit, Jax slips past the guards, enters through the unlocked window, and makes his way to the master bedroom. Cole sleeps alone. Brianna has taken the guest room as instructed. The safe is exactly where Brianna described, hidden behind a decorative panel. Jax enters the code, removes the external drive, and replaces it with an identical one that will corrupt any computer that tries to access it. As he prepares to exit, Cole stirs in his sleep, mumbling incoherently. Jax freezes, combat knife in hand, a hair's breadth from eliminating the man who nearly killed his son. The old Jax, the one before the switch flipped, would have hesitated. But this Jax calculates. Killing Cole now would jeopardize the larger mission. Justice requires Baldwin's destruction too. Jax melts away into the darkness, external drive secured. By dawn, they've verified the drive's contents, finding even more damning evidence. Not only did Donovan's company knowingly provide faulty equipment, but Baldwin helped suppress laboratory test results showing critical failures, directly resulting in the deaths of Jax's squad mates. "This goes higher than we thought," Washington says, reviewing financial documents. Baldwin's received millions through shell companies tied to foreign defense contractors. He's been selling classified information. "Treason," Jax says simply. "We need to get this to federal authorities immediately." Jax shakes his head. "Not yet. Baldwin arrives in 3 hours. We need to catch them together in the act." "That's pushing it, Jax. We have enough. I want them to see it coming, to know exactly who brought them down." Washington studies his former squad leader. "This isn't just about justice anymore, is it?" "It was never just about justice," Jax admits. "They tried to kill my son. They called my dead brothers acceptable losses. They deserve to suffer." The morning brings new complications. Cole discovers the safe has been accessed. Security camera footage reveals nothing but his suspicion falls immediately on Brianna. Through Brianna's burner phone, they hear the confrontation in real time. "Did you access the safe?" Cole demands, voice tight with barely controlled rage. "What? No, I don't even know the combination." "Someone did. The system logs show it was opened at 2:17 a.m. "Maybe you sleepwalked," she suggests, trying to sound casual. "You've been under a lot of stress." A sharp sound, Cole striking her. Jax's jaw tightens, but he remains focused on the mission. "I know you've been in contact with him," Cole hisses. "Your husband's not as clever as he thinks." "You're paranoid," Brianna responds, voice steadier than Jax expected. "I have everything to lose if Jax finds us. Why would I help him?" "Because you're weak. You've been having second thoughts since the boy fell." "His name is Devin," she says quietly. "And he didn't fall. You pushed him." Another strike. "Choose your side carefully, Brianna. Baldwin arrives in 2 hours. After our meeting, we disappear permanently. If you're not with us completely, you're a liability." The transmission goes silent as Cole presumably confiscates the phone. "She's blown," Washington says. "We need to extract her." Jax's expression remains impassive. "Not yet. She made her choices. Now we use the chaos." As Baldwin's private jet lands, they initiate the final phase. Washington has arranged for a federal law enforcement contact to be ready, but they need all 3 targets together with evidence of criminal activity. Dressed as airport ground staff, Jax watches Baldwin emerge from his plane, a silver-haired man with the confident bearing of someone accustomed to power. 3 security personnel flank him. Cole arrives to meet Baldwin, tension visible in his posture. They exchange terse greetings before departing for First Cayman Trust. Romeo 1 moving to position. Washington confirms through the earpiece. He's stationed near the bank, prepared to document the meeting. Jax follows at a safe distance, his rental car unremarkable in morning traffic. As they approach the bank, his phone buzzes with a message from an unknown number, Brianna, using a new phone. Cole knows. "Taking me to meeting at gunpoint. Says I'm insurance if you show up." The stakes have escalated. Brianna is now a hostage, not an asset. Jax adjusts the plan accordingly, contacting their federal law enforcement connection. "Execute now." Targets armed and holding a hostage. The response is immediate. Teams moving. ETA, 3 minutes. At First Cayman Trust, Cole escorts Brianna inside, his hand gripping her arm while his jacket conceals the weapon pressed against her ribs. Baldwin waits in a private meeting room, irritation evident in his expression. "Why is she here?" Baldwin demands when they enter. "Insurance," Cole replies. "Her husband's in Grand Cayman. He somehow accessed our files." Baldwin's face flushes with anger. "You compromised everything. This meeting was supposed to be secure." "Nothing's compromised," Cole insists. "We transfer the funds, change identities, and disappear as planned." "And what about her?" Baldwin gestures dismissively toward Brianna. Cole's expression turns cold. "Loose ends will be tied up." Brianna's face pales as she realizes their intentions. Outside, unmarked vehicles converge on the bank, while Washington monitors through surveillance equipment. "Romeo 2, you need to hold position," Washington urges through the earpiece. Federal team is taking lead, but Jax is already moving, slipping into the bank through a service entrance, Ranger training guiding his movements. He reaches the private meeting room corridor just as federal agents storm the main entrance. Chaos erupts. Cole, hearing the commotion, drags Brianna toward an emergency exit, gun now visible. Baldwin and his security team move in the opposite direction, toward a private elevator. Jax intercepts Cole and Brianna in the hallway. Cole immediately swings his weapon toward Jax, using Brianna as a shield. "Back off, Ranger," Cole snarls. "Or she dies first." "You're surrounded, Donovan. It's over." "Nothing's over. I still have leverage." He presses the gun harder against Brianna's temple. "How much do you hate her, Connors?" "Enough to watch her die." Time slows as Jax assesses the situation with combat clarity. Cole's finger tightens on the trigger. Brianna's eyes meet Jax's, conveying a lifetime of regret in one glance. What happens next occurs in less than 2 seconds. Brianna suddenly drives her elbow into Cole's ribs, a move Jax taught her years ago for self-defense. As Cole momentarily loses balance, Jax lunges forward with a preternatural speed that made him a legend in special operations. The disarm is textbook Ranger hand-to-hand combat. Jax breaks Cole's wrist before he can fire, transitions to a joint lock that drives him to the floor, and renders him unconscious strike to the carotid artery. Federal agents swarm the corridor, securing Cole while others pursue Baldwin. Brianna stands trembling, tears streaming down her face. Jax, save it, he cuts her off. You're alive. That's enough. As agents lead them away, Jax's phone rings. It's Detective Ortega. Connors, I thought you want to know. Devin's awake. Doctors say he's going to make a full recovery. For the first time since the nightmare began, Jax allows himself to feel something beyond the cold precision of the switch. Thank you, he says quietly. Tell him I'm coming home. Chapter 6, Battlefield Truths. 1 week later, Jax sits beside Devin's hospital bed, watching his son sleep peacefully for the first time since the accident. The room is filled with flowers, cards, and a state-of-the-art camera system from Washington and his former Ranger teammates, a replacement for the one Cole destroyed. Dr. Patel enters with a tablet displaying Devin's latest scans. The swelling continues to decrease. His latest neural responses are excellent. She smiles warmly. He's strong like his father. Stronger, Jax replies. He never should have had to be. The DA's office called again. She mentions carefully, they need your final statement for the prosecution. I'll call them back. When she leaves, Jax returns to the documents spread across the small table. Court papers, plea agreements, and news articles covering what the media has dubbed the Baldwin conspiracy. Senator Baldwin, Cole Donovan, and several defense contractor executives face multiple federal charges, including conspiracy, attempted murder, fraud, and treason. The evidence Jax and Washington gathered has blown open not just Mercury Protocol, but a decade of corruption that cost American lives and compromised national security. Devin stirs, his eyes opening. Hey, Dad. Hey, champ. How's the pain today? Manageable, Devin says, the mature response breaking Jax's heart. No 16-year-old should have to rate complex pain levels. Any news about Mom? Jax hesitates. He's been selective about what he tells Devin regarding Brianna's involvement. She's cooperating with prosecutors, he says carefully. Her testimony is helping build the case against Donovan and Baldwin. Is she going to prison? That depends on the plea agreement. Her lawyer is pushing for house arrest, given her cooperation. Devin processes this silently, then asks the question Jax has been dreading. Did she know? When he pushed me, did she know what he was going to do? Jax weighs truth against mercy. The evidence shows Brianna was surprised by Cole's violence toward Devin, though she did nothing to stop it until later. The surveillance shows she was shocked when he attacked you. Jax says carefully. She made terrible choices, but I don't believe she wanted you harmed. But she just watched, Devin says, voice breaking slightly. She just stood there. Yes, Jax acknowledges, refusing to sugarcoat this aspect. She failed you in that moment. There's no excuse for that. Devin nods, absorbing this painful truth. Can I ask you something else? About Fallujah, Jax tenses slightly. He rarely discusses his combat experiences. What about it? Cole said you were just a runaway soldier. What did he mean? Jax considers how much to reveal. During my third deployment, my unit discovered defense contractors supplying faulty communication equipment. When we tried to report it, evidence disappeared, investigations were blocked, and suddenly we were assigned to high-risk missions with minimal support. Like you were being punished, or set up to fail, Jax confirms. After 4 of my men died in an ambush because their radio signals were intercepted, I pushed harder for an investigation. Instead, I was offered a choice: stop asking questions or face court-martial on manufactured charges. So you left the Rangers. It's not a question. I completed my contract and declined re-enlistment. Your mother called it running away from my true calling. What Cole meant was that I walked away once before, so I'd walk away again. But you didn't. Devin's voice holds new respect. You fought back this time. The stakes were different. Jax says simply. They came after my son. A knock at the door interrupts their conversation. Detective Ortega enters, accompanied by federal agent Teresa Sandoval, the contact who coordinated the Grand Cayman operation. Mr. Connors, Sandoval greets him. How's the recovery going, Devin? Better every day, ma'am. I have updates, she continues, addressing both of them. Senator Baldwin has agreed to a plea deal. 25 years, no possibility of parole, in exchange for testimony against foreign agents involved in Mercury Protocol. And Donovan? Jax asks. Going to trial. His lawyers attempted an insanity defense, but the judge rejected it based on the premeditation evidence. My mom? Devin asks quietly. Sandoval glances at Jax before answering carefully. Brianna Connors has accepted a plea agreement. 3 years under house arrest, followed by 5 years probation. Full cooperation requires her to surrender all assets acquired through the conspiracy. She keeps nothing, Ortega adds. The house, cars, accounts, all forfeit. Jax nods, satisfied with this outcome. Financial punishment will hurt Brianna more than incarceration would. There's one more thing, Sandoval continues. The Department of Defense is reopening the investigation into the equipment failures that led to casualties in your unit. They're posthumously honoring the 4 Rangers who died with Silver Stars, and there will be a formal apology to the families. 10 years too late, Jax says bitterly. Yes, Sandoval acknowledges, but their names will be cleared of any operational failure. The record will show they died because of criminal negligence and fraud, not tactical mistakes. After they leave, Devin studies his father. Is it enough? All this, does it fix anything? Jax considers the question seriously. Justice doesn't fix the past, Devin. It just stops the bleeding so healing can begin. And revenge. Revenge is a mission with no endpoint. I've seen men destroyed pursuing it. But you got yours, Devin points out. No, Jax corrects him. I got justice. If I'd wanted revenge, Donovan and your mother wouldn't be alive to face consequences. The distinction seems to satisfy Devin, who nods thoughtfully. Later that evening, Washington arrives with dinner from Devin's favorite burger place. Contraband that Dr. Patel pretends not to notice. Got news, Washington says between bites. Remember the fake nurse who tried to harm Devin? She rolled on her employer, private security firm with ties to Baldwin. Gave up names of everyone involved in the conspiracy. Good, Jax says simply. There's more, Washington continues. The Pentagon wants to talk to you about consulting on a review of all equipment contracts issued under Baldwin's committee oversight. Could be a big opportunity for Sentinel Solutions. The irony isn't lost on Jax. His security consulting business might actually benefit from this ordeal. I'll consider it, he says noncommittally, after Devin's recovery is complete. As visiting hours end, Jax prepares to leave for the night. Devin catches his hand. Dad, why get out of here? Can we go camping? Like we used to? The simple request, reaching back to happier times, catches Jax off guard. Absolutely. Anywhere you want. And Dad, thanks for not running away this time. Outside in the hospital parking lot, Jax pauses by his truck, overcome by the emotional weight of the past weeks. The switch, that cold, tactical part of him, has remained activated since the night of Devin's fall. He's functioned, navigating complex legal, tactical, and emotional terrain without faltering. But now, with justice secured and Devin healing, Jax feels the switch flickering, allowing more human emotions to surface. It's uncomfortable, rage, grief, and betrayal threatening to overwhelm his carefully maintained control. His phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. It's Brianna. Can we talk? Please. Jax stares at the message, feeling the switch solidify again. Some betrayals can be understood, but never forgiven. Some wounds must be allowed to scar over without reopening them. He deletes the message without responding and drives away, leaving the past behind while looking toward a different future, one where father and son rebuild what others tried to destroy. Chapter 7. Healing Grounds. 3 months later, Jax unpacks camping gear from his truck beneath towering pines in George Washington National Forest. Nearby, Devin adjusts his new camera capturing the late afternoon light filtering through the trees. Devin's recovery has been remarkable. Though he still walks with a slight limp and needs regular physical therapy, he's regained his strength and much of his teenage energy. More importantly, the haunted look that lingered in his eyes after the accident has finally begun to fade. "This is the spot," Jax announces, surveying the small clearing with approval. Good sight lines, water source nearby, natural windbreak. Devin grins. "Still thinking like a ranger, Dad? Some habits save lives," Jax replies, though his tone is lighter than it would have been months ago. They work together, setting up camp with practiced efficiency. Their movements display the renewed bond between them, stronger now, forged in shared trauma and recovery. As dusk approaches, they sit beside a small fire, mountain air growing crisp around them. "Heard from Mom yesterday," Devin says casually, testing the conversational waters. Jax's expression remains neutral. "How is house arrest treating her?" "Okay, I guess. She's working remotely for some medical transcription company." Devin pokes the fire with a stick. "She asked if she could see me next month." "That's your decision to make," Jax says carefully. "You're old enough to choose. Would you be mad if I said yes?" Jax considers his answer thoughtfully. "No, she's still your mother, despite everything. But I won't pretend it didn't happen either." "I don't think I'll ever fully forgive her," Devin admits. "But I'm curious what she has to say. Just remember, explanations aren't the same as excuses. She made choices that nearly cost you your life." Devin nods, his expression more mature than any 17-year-old should be. The accident aged him, forced him to confront adult complexities too soon. The Donovan trial starts next week, Devin notes, changing subjects. "Will I have to testify?" Prosecutor says no. "Your recorded statement and the security footage are sufficient." Jax adds more wood to the fire. Baldwin's testimony further corroborates everything. "Good. I don't want to see him again." They fall into comfortable silence until Devin asks the question that's clearly been on his mind. "Do you ever regret not killing him when you had the chance in Grand Cayman?" The directness of the question startles Jax. "Who told you about that?" "Uncle Wash let it slip. Said you had Cole at your mercy, but chose justice instead." Jax sighs. "Washington means well, but sometimes shares too much." "No, I don't regret it," Jax says finally. "Taking a life changes you, Devin, even when it's justified. It takes something you can't get back. But you've killed before. In combat. That was different. War has rules, context. What you're asking about would have been execution." "He deserved it," Devin insists, a flash of anger breaking through his composure. "Maybe, but it wasn't about what he deserved. It was about who I am and who I want to be for you." This answer seems to satisfy Devin, who nods thoughtfully. "Dad, there's something else I wanted to talk about." Devin hesitates. "I've been thinking about after graduation, about enlisting." Jax feels a complex surge of emotions, pride mingled with protective fear. "The military can be a good path, but I want you to consider all options." "It's because of what happened," Devin admits. "I used to think being brave meant not showing fear. But watching you these past months, how you handled everything, I realize bravery is about doing what's right even when you're terrified. There are many ways to be brave, son. Military service is just one. I know, but I want to build something worthwhile like you did with your Ranger unit. A brotherhood." Jax gazes into the fire, memories of his team surfacing. The 4 who died and the others, like Washington, who became family. Despite everything that happened after, those bonds remain sacred. "If that's what you decide," Jack says finally, "I'll support you. But promise me you'll finish college first. Options matter." "Deal." As night settles around their campsite, Jax reflects on the journey of the past months. The switch, that cold, tactical part of him, hasn't fully deactivated, but it's quieter now, no longer drowning out other aspects of his humanity. The next morning, they hike to a mountain overlook, Devin moving with increasing confidence despite his lingering limp. At the summit, they find a natural stone formation forming a perfect seat overlooking the valley. "This is it," Jack says quietly, "where I used to come after combat tours, to remember who I was before becoming a soldier." Devin raises his camera, capturing the sweeping panorama. It's perfect. Jax reaches into his pack, removing a small wooden box. I've been waiting for the right moment for this. Inside the box rests a vintage Rolex Submariner, the watch his own father gave him before his first deployment. This belonged to your grandfather. He gave it to me before Fallujah. Said time moves differently in war zones, and a good watch keeps you tethered to the world you're fighting for. Jax carefully places it in Devon's hand. I want you to have it now. Dad, I can't. You can. And someday, maybe you'll pass it to your son. Tradition matters, especially in our family. Devon slips the watch onto his wrist, clearly moved by the gesture. They sit in companionable silence, watching eagles circle in the valley below. There's something I need to tell you, Jax says eventually. I made some decisions about our future. What kind of decisions? I'm selling the house. Too many bad memories there. Devon nods, unsurprised. Where will we go? I bought land outside Charlottesville. 20 acres with a small cabin. We'll build something new, exactly how we want it. What about Sentinel Solutions? Restructuring. Less overseas work, more domestic contracts. Starting with that Pentagon consulting job Washington mentioned. Jax hesitates before sharing the final piece. And I've started seeing someone. Nothing serious yet, but potential. Devon raises his eyebrows. Dr. Patel? How did you know? Dad. She checked your blood pressure like 5 times a day when I was in the hospital. Devon grins. Plus, she's way out of your league. So, I figured you must have game I don't know about. Jax laughs. A genuine laugh that feels foreign but welcome. She asked me to coffee after your final discharge. Said someone needed to make sure I was sleeping. I like her, Devon decides. She doesn't take your stoic ranger crap. Language. Jax chides without heat. They begin their descent as afternoon shadows lengthen across the forest. Near the base of the trail, Devon stops suddenly. Dad? Thank you. For everything. His voice catches slightly. When I was falling that night, all I could think was that I needed you to know the truth. That you'd make it right somehow. Jax pulls his son into a tight embrace. That's what fathers do, Devon. We protect what matters most. Always. As they continue toward camp, Jax's phone buzzes with a news alert. Breaking. Defense contractor Cole Donovan attempts suicide in pretrial custody. Condition critical. Jax shows the alert to Devon, who processes it silently before asking, do you care if he lives or dies? I care that justice happens in the daylight. Jax answers honestly. Death would be too easy for him. Is it the ranger talking or my dad? Jax considers the question carefully. Both, I suppose. The ranger understands that enemies must face consequences. But your father knows that living with what he's done, especially if he survives with permanent disabilities, is a more fitting punishment than a quick death. Devon nods, satisfied with this complex moral calculation that acknowledges both justice and human feeling. That night, after Devon falls asleep, Jax sits alone by the dying embers of their campfire. His phone shows a missed call from Brianna, her weekly attempt at contact that he usually ignores. This time, after a moment's consideration, he texts back a brief message. Devon might be ready to see you next month. Limited visit. I won't be present. Her response comes immediately. Thank you, Jax. More than I deserve. He doesn't reply further. Some bridges remain burned, but for Devon's sake, he'll allow narrow passages to be constructed. The switch, that cold, tactical part of him, has served its purpose. It protected his son, brought down powerful enemies, and secured a measure of justice. Now, sitting beneath stars that shine the same over battlefields and peaceful forests alike, Jax allows himself to power down that combat-ready vigilance, just a little. Not completely. Some changes are permanent, but enough to make space for healing, for new beginnings. Enough to remember that he is not just Ranger Connors, but also Jax, a father rebuilding a life with his son. Chapter 8. Justice Rendered. The federal courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia, stands imposing in the autumn sunlight. Jax adjusts his tie, the formal suit uncomfortable after months of casual attire at their new property. Beside him, Devon looks equally constrained in his first suit since outgrowing his old ones during recovery. Ready? Jax asks, as they approach the media gauntlet surrounding the entrance. Devin nods, squaring his shoulders. Let's finish this. Cameras flash as they make their way inside, reporters shouting questions that they ignore with practiced discipline. The Connors case has become national news, a sensational story of corruption, attempted murder, and a father's relentless pursuit of justice. In a crowded courtroom, they find seats in the front row beside Washington and Dr. Patel, who now goes by Maya, in their ever-evolving relationship. Federal agent Sandoval nods to them from the prosecution table. Cole Donovan enters in a wheelchair, his suicide attempt having left him partially paralyzed. The irony isn't lost on anyone. His punishment for pushing Devin from a balcony is a lifetime of similar physical limitations. His once confident demeanor has crumbled, replaced by a hollow-eyed stare. When he spots Jax and Devin, his gaze drops immediately to the floor. Senator Baldwin appears next, already convicted through his plea deal, but required to testify against his former partner. The once powerful politician now shuffles in prison attire, age and disgrace evident in his stooped posture. Judge Eleanor Martinez calls the court to order, addressing the packed gallery. This court has already heard extensive evidence regarding the charges against Mr. Donovan. Today we will hear victim impact statements before sentencing. Mr. Connors, you may proceed when ready. Jax approaches the podium, his prepared statement in hand. He locks eyes briefly with Donovan before addressing the court. Your Honor, I came here today not just as Devin Connors' father, but as a voice for others who can't speak. 10 years ago, 4 of my Ranger brothers died because of equipment failures that Mr. Donovan and Senator Baldwin deliberately concealed for profit. When I attempted to expose this, they systematically destroyed my military career. Jax continues, detailing the conspiracy without emotion, his voice steady and clear. But their crimes went beyond fraud and corruption. When my son accidentally discovered their decade-long relationship with my wife, Mr. Donovan attempted to murder a 16-year-old boy. He pushed my son from a second-story balcony, causing injuries that required 6 surgeries and months of rehabilitation. Turning slightly to address Donovan directly, Jax's voice takes on a new intensity. You call me a runaway soldier who wouldn't be missed. You believed I would abandon the search for justice, as I supposedly abandoned my military career. That miscalculation was your downfall. Because while you were building a fortune on corruption and deceit, I was building something stronger, a bond with my son that no betrayal could break. Jax pauses, gathering himself. Your Honor, I don't seek vengeance today. Justice isn't measured in years of incarceration or financial penalties. True justice is the restoration of truth. My Ranger brothers' names have been cleared. My son is recovering. And men who thought themselves above accountability now face the consequences of their actions. Returning to his seat, Jax nods to Devin, who rises with determination and approaches the podium. Despite his lingering limp, he stands tall, looking directly at Cole. Mr. Donovan, I used to wonder why you hated me enough to try to kill me, Devin begins, his voice surprisingly steady. But I've realized it wasn't about me at all. I was just inconvenient, evidence you couldn't control. Devin continues with remarkable composure for his age, describing the physical and emotional impact of his injuries without self-pity. The hardest part wasn't the surgeries or physical therapy. It was losing trust in my mother, in the safety of my home, in the idea that adults would protect rather than harm me. That's something I'm still rebuilding day by day. Looking at Judge Martinez, he concludes, I don't hate Mr. Donovan anymore. Hate takes energy I'd rather use for healing. But I do believe in consequences. His actions were calculated and deliberate. My injuries were not an accident or a momentary lapse in judgment. Please sentence him accordingly. Judge Martinez thanks Devin, genuine respect in her expression. After hearing from other witnesses, including family members of the deceased Rangers, she prepares to deliver her sentence. Mr. Donovan, please rise. Cole's attorney helps him position his wheelchair to face the judge. This court has rarely encountered crimes combining such calculated cruelty with such far-reaching consequences. Your actions resulted in the deaths of 4 servicemen, the attempted murder of a minor, and a conspiracy that undermined national security. She continues through the charges, her voice growing increasingly stern. I hereby sentence you to life imprisonment without possibility of parole for the attempted murder of Devin Connors, with consecutive sentences for fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice, totaling an additional 95 years. The courtroom remains silent as Judge Martinez continues. Furthermore, the court orders complete forfeiture of all assets derived from your criminal enterprise, with restitution to be paid to the families of the deceased Rangers and to Devin Connors for his ongoing medical expenses. Cole seems to physically shrink with each pronouncement, his remaining arrogance finally crumbling completely. Outside, after the proceedings, reporters again clamor for statements. Jax places a protective arm around Devin's shoulders, guiding him through the crowd with Washington and Maya creating a buffer. Mr. Connors, how do you feel about the sentence? Jax pauses briefly. Justice was served. That's all that matters. And your ex-wife's involvement? Any comment on our plea deal? That chapter is closed, Jax says firmly. We're focused on the future. As they reach their vehicle, Agent Sandoval approaches with a sealed envelope. This just came through official channels, she explains. The Secretary of Defense has authorized posthumous Purple Hearts for your fallen squad members, with ceremonies for the families next month. They've also approved your petition for honorable status clarification in your military record. Jax accepts the envelope, emotion briefly crossing his otherwise composed features. Thank you. There's more, Sandoval continues. The Intelligence Committee wants to fast-track Sentinel Solutions for security, consulting on all replacement communication systems. It's a substantial contract. Washington grins. Told you this would turn around for the business. Later that evening, at their new property outside Charlottesville, they celebrate the closure of the case with a small gathering. Washington mans the grill, while Maya sets up a projector for an outdoor movie night. Devin shows Detective Ortega, now a family friend, his progress on documenting the construction of their new home. As twilight settles over the property, Jax finds a moment alone on the newly built deck overlooking the forest. Maya joins him, handing him a beer. Penny for your thoughts, Ranger? He smiles slightly at the nickname she's adopted. Just thinking about circles. How things come around. Poetic for a man of action, she teases gently. Don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to maintain. She leans against the railing beside him. The nightmares getting any better? Jax appreciates her directness, the way she never tiptoes around difficult subjects. Some nights are better than others. And the hypervigilance. He gestures to the state-of-the-art security system installed throughout the property. Working on it, Maya's hand finds his, her touch grounding him in the present moment. Progress, not perfection. That's what I tell my patients. Wise doctor. Speaking of which, she says, her tone shifting slightly, Devin's latest scans look excellent. The neuroplasticity at his age is remarkable. In a year, you might not even notice the limp. Relief floods through him at this confirmation of his son's continued recovery. He's stronger than I was at his age. Strong like his father, she counters, echoing her words from months ago. The moment is interrupted by Devin calling them for dinner. As they rejoin the gathering, Jax observes the unlikely family they've formed. Washington, Ortega, Maya, and Devin, all brought together by tragedy but remaining by choice. After dinner, as they settle in for the movie, Jax's phone buzzes with a text message from a familiar number, Brianna. He nearly ignores it, then reconsiders. Heard about the sentencing. I'm grateful justice was served. Devin's visit next week. Should I prepare anything special? Jax considers his response carefully, aware of the complex emotions still attached to his ex-wife. Just be honest with him. He needs truth more than comfort. After sending the text, he powers down his phone completely, a small act of trust in the present moment rather than vigilance against threats from the past. As the movie plays, Jax watches Devin laugh at something Washington says, the sound warming something long cold inside him. The switch, that military precision and detachment, hasn't disappeared entirely, but it's no longer his primary operating system. He's learning to be present without being on guard, to trust without being naive, to heal without forgetting. It's an ongoing mission, but one he's equipped to handle. Maya's hand finds his in the darkness. She doesn't attempt to pull him from his thoughts, simply offers connection when he's ready to accept it. Jax squeezes her hand gently, gratitude for her understanding combining with growing affection. Some bridges burn, some collapse, but others can be built stronger than before if you have the right materials and the patience to construct them properly. As stars appear above their new home, Jax allows himself something that once seemed impossible. Hope for a future unclouded by betrayal and vengeance. Not forgetting, never that, but perhaps, eventually, moving forward. Chapter 9. Honor Among Rangers. 1 year later, Arlington National Cemetery hosts another ceremony. This time, Jax stands at parade rest in a formal suit, Devin beside him in his ROTC uniform from the University of Virginia. Behind them, Maya watches proudly alongside Washington and several former Rangers from Jax's old unit. For families receive folded flags and posthumous Purple Hearts for the Rangers who died in Fallujah. The Secretary of Defense personally apologizes for the decade-long delay in recognizing their sacrifice, acknowledging the equipment failures that cost their lives. As the ceremony concludes, General Harris, the current Army Chief of Staff, approaches Jax. "Sergeant Connors, the Army owes you a debt that cannot be repaid," he says solemnly. "Your persistence brought truth to light when others tried to bury it." "I did it for my men, sir," Jax responds simply. "They deserved better." Indeed they did. The general hands Jax a small box. "This was approved last week. For valor above and beyond during the ambush, and for your continued fight for justice afterward." Inside rests a silver star, one of the nation's highest military honors. "I don't deserve this," Jax says quietly. "I was just doing my job." Accepting honors isn't about deserving, Sergeant. It's about honoring the values they represent. The general glances at Devin, and showing the next generation what those values look like in action. After the general departs, Devin examines the medal with reverence. "Would you have pursued all this if I hadn't been injured?" "I like to think so," Jax answers honestly. "But it might have taken longer. Sometimes we need personal stakes to push past institutional barriers." Washington joins them, clapping Jax on the shoulder. "Told you we'd get here eventually, brother." "Took the scenic route," Jax acknowledges with a small smile. Speaking of scenic, Washington continues. That Pentagon contract has opened doors. 3 more federal agencies want Sentinel services, and that training program for veterans is taking off. The security consulting company has indeed transformed over the past year, focusing on helping government agencies improve protection protocols while hiring veterans for specialized roles. The business that began as Jax's way of continuing to serve has become a second chance for many former service members. Maya approaches, elegant in a simple black dress. "Ready for the second event?" Devin might be late for his own ceremony if we don't hurry. The ROTC honor ceremony at UVA begins at 3, where Devin will receive recognition for exceptional leadership, a remarkable achievement for a freshman. Though still considering his options, Devin's natural abilities have already marked him for potential officer candidate school after graduation. As they walk toward their vehicles, a familiar figure waits nearby, Brianna. Her appearance has changed drastically from the polished pharmaceutical rep of the past. House arrest and financial ruin have left visible marks. Her designer clothes replaced by simple attire, her once perfect makeup minimal. "I wasn't sure I should come," she says hesitantly, "but I wanted to pay respects." An uncomfortable silence falls. Despite monthly supervised visits with Devin, this is the first time Jax has seen Brianna in person since the courthouse in Grand Cayman. "Mom," Devin acknowledges, his tone neutral but not hostile. "Are you coming to the ROTC ceremony?" "I'd like to, if that's okay with everyone." She glances uncertainly at Jax. After a moment's consideration, he nods once. "Your son's being honored. You should be there." The simple permission seems to lift an enormous weight from her shoulders. "Thank you." Washington tactfully creates separation, guiding Maya toward their car with promises to save seats, leaving the former family a moment of privacy. "You look well," Jax, Brianna offers tentatively. The new business seems successful. It is, he confirms without elaboration. And you, Devin, ROTC suits you. Your grandfather would have been proud. Thanks, Mom. Devin's response is polite but measured. The awkward exchange might have continued, but Jax suddenly spots a familiar face in the crowd. Cole Donovan's former attorney, now representing Senator Baldwin's appeal. We need to go, he says abruptly, old instincts flaring. Despite the convictions, powerful interests connected to Mercury Protocol continue attempting to undermine the case through legal challenges and media manipulation. Sensing his tension, Devin immediately scans the area, absorbing his father's situational awareness. West Entrance has less crowd density. The casual tactical assessment, so like something Jax would say, makes him realize how much of his Ranger mindset has transferred to his son, for better or worse. It's fine, Jax forces himself to say, consciously dialing back his reactive vigilance. Just a Baldwin lawyer, not a threat. We'll use the main exit as planned. This small victory over hypervigilance doesn't go unnoticed by Devin, who gives his father an approving nod. At the ROTC ceremony, Devin stands tall among his fellow cadets, no trace of his former injuries visible in his confident bearing. When his name is called for the leadership award, pride swells in Jax's chest. Not just for Devin's accomplishments, but for his resilience in the face of trauma that might have broken someone with less character. Later that evening, they gather at Jax and Devin's completed home, a modern cabin expanded to accommodate their growing extended family. Washington and his wife, Maya, Ortega and his daughter, even Brianna, invited by Devin for a celebratory dinner. As conversations flow around the large dining table, Jax observes the unexpected community that formed from tragedy's ashes. Washington arguing good-naturedly with Ortega about baseball. Maya discussing medical school with Ortega's daughter. Devin showing Brianna photos of his ROTC training, her attention genuine despite the awkwardness of her position. Excusing himself briefly, Jax steps onto the back deck, needing a moment alone to process the day's emotional weight. The property spreads before him, 20 acres of forest and meadow, now secured with state-of-the-art systems that represent his commitment to protecting what matters without being imprisoned by fear. Maya joins him, respecting his space while offering quiet companionship. Full circle, she observes, echoing his words from a year ago. From one ceremony at Arlington to another, with a much better ending this time. Are you okay with her being here? Maya asks, nodding toward the house where Brianna helps clear dishes. Okay, might be overstating it, Jax admits. But Devin wanted it, and I won't stand in the way of whatever relationship they rebuild. Some things can't be fixed, but they can be renegotiated. That's surprisingly insightful for a man who once told me emotional processing was for civilians and officers, she teases. I've had a good teacher, he replies, drawing her closer. The nightmares still less frequent. The new security system helps. Maya's expression turns serious. And the ring box you've been hiding in your sock drawer for the past month? Did that help too? Jax's eyebrows rise in surprise. Reconnaissance in my bedroom, doctor? That's an invasion of privacy. Medical necessity, she counters with a smile. Had to borrow socks when mine got wet in that rainstorm last weekend. Jax laughs softly. I was waiting for the right moment. And is this it? She challenges gently. He considers the question, gazing at the life they've built from the wreckage of betrayal and violence. At his son, thriving despite trauma. At the unlikely family gathered inside, each playing a role in their recovery. No, he decides. This moment belongs to Devin and his achievements. Ours will come. Maya's smile widens with approval. Patience and planning. Very Ranger of you. Some habits are worth keeping. Inside, Devin calls for their attention, raising his glass in an impromptu toast. To second chances, he says, his gaze moving from Jax to Maya, to Brianna, and finally to the silver star now displayed in a simple frame on the mantel. And to the truth that finally sets things right. To second chances, the gathered family echoes, glasses raising in unison. As Jax rejoins the circle, accepting a glass from Washington, He realizes that the switch, that combat-ready part of him that activated the night of Devon's fall, has evolved rather than deactivated. It no longer controls him, but serves him, a tool rather than a master. The vigilance remains, but balanced now with trust. The persists, but tempered with compassion. The protective instinct continues, but channeled into building rather than destroying. This, perhaps, is the true victory, not just surviving betrayal or achieving justice, but reclaiming the ability to live without being defined by past wounds, to protect without being consumed by fear, to remember without being imprisoned by memory. As night falls over their home, security systems armed but not obsessively monitored, Jax Connors, former ranger, grieving comrade, avenging father, and now simply a man rebuilding, raises his own glass in a private toast. To his fallen brothers, finally honored. To his son, standing tall despite scars. And to the future, uncertain but faced with clear eyes and steady hands. Not just survival but life. Not just justice but peace. The hunter rests, not because the mission ends, but because he chooses when to deploy his skills rather than being driven by them. The watch continues, but with the wisdom to distinguish between vigilance and paranoia, between protection and isolation. This, Jax reflects as the celebration continues around him, is the final lesson of a ranger's vengeance, knowing not just how to fight, but when to lay down arms and build something worth protecting. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.